Hey, this is Giacomo Smith from Kansas Smitty's, and you're listening to Live at 5. Before we start today, I just want to remind you that we rely on your support to continue through this period. So remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the link in the description below to see where you can donate, sign up for a Smitty's membership, or buy our records and merchandise. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is Live at 5, and we are live today. Welcome. And we're joined by Joe Webb, the pianist.
Hello.
Yes, the pianist in the Kansas Smitty's house band. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really excited to see you. Actually, it's been so long. Oh, how I've missed you, my boy.
Oh no. Just going stir crazy, just like being in the house for like a week.
I know.
So crazy, man.
It's amazing. It's like nothing.
Such a nice experience.
So lovely, yeah.
So nice.
So what have you been practicing? What have you been working on since you've been?
I've just been trying to sort of write. I'm doing recording a new album in October, hopefully. It's like I kind of wanted to go into the studio with like a bunch of stuff, like maybe 10, 12 tunes, and then get it, either record all of them or just start like preferring, like I prefer this one over this one, so yeah, kind of just want to have like a load of music, and I guess now's the time to kind of write it. But it's always really hard because it's really hard to get, I don't know whether anyone else feels this, but it's really hard to get motivated and to like have something to write about other than just waking up in the morning and just being indoors and be almost like a rabbit or something, like being let out of the cage for like 20 minutes a day to like skip around the garden. That's literally what it feels like. Be fed a carrot and stuff and have one of those water bottles, like yeah. That's
what your new
what's going on right now.
Your new album can be called The Rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really nice as well. Where Benny lets me go on my wheel when I run really fast around it, man. So nice to have the exercise.
You make an interesting point, and I know that you actually just released the second half of your album from last year, right? And I know that a lot of those, you talk about, like you said, it's hard to get inspired and hard to be inspired when you're not out and living in the world, because I know that when I write music, I don't necessarily think of imagery. I have a lot of trouble titling tunes, but whenever you come in with a tune, you seem to really imagine like what's in front of you, and I think that's so cool. Is that, do you always kind of write a song with like a scene in mind?
Yeah, I find it really difficult to just write something for the sake of writing something. I think if it doesn't have a reason, because it's like it's nice to imagine something. It's nice to imagine some kind of image when you play that music. Do you know what I mean? So like like whether it's a particular place that you love to visit or whatever, to actually see it in, at least, or imagine it when you play it, kind of gives it a bit more to the story, other than just being like, oh, I need another tune for my album, I'm just going to bash one out now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect segue into just for those of you who are listening, we're still working out the kinks in how to stream music live, because when you try and play into these either Zoom or Skype or a few of the different streaming video things, they can't capture the full kind of effect of the piano. So Joe actually recorded a few tunes earlier today that we're going to play back, and the first one is called Marcia, which, Joe, that's a place in Barcelona.
Yeah, it's this amazing. So in the old part of Barcelona, there's like I can't even remember the actual name of the neighborhood, but yeah, there's this amazing absinthe bar called Marcia, and it's where Picasso used to drink, Van Gogh used to drink, Hemingway used to drink, and it's been, it's hundreds and hundreds of years old. But you go in there, I think it's also used in it's a film called Vicky Cristina Barcelona. It's used in a film in that as well. it's an amazing place. I mean, if anyone goes there, like, yeah, if anyone's in Barcelona, it's well worth a visit, because yeah, so you walk into the doors and it's like, it's actually funny. Something really funny happened in there the last time I was there. There's really weird toilets there, so like you can almost just see it. It's really crazy. It's just like you just never know. You like, anyway, yeah. That's
did you see Picasso in there?
I saw Picasso and Van Gogh just like at 2 different times. I was like, yeah, how's it going? But yeah, like it's an amazing place. So much history there. You walk in, it's like, because it's amazing to imagine these like artists as people, people going out to drink, people just going to hang out, and to actually be able to go to a place where they actually used to hang out is incredible. And drink absinthe and just, well, I mean, actually not too much of it. I think I had one and I was just, Benny had to carry me home. My girlfriend had to carry me home, man. I'm a real hardened drinker,
Well, I don't think anybody's going to be going there anytime soon, just because of what's going on. But the silver lining is that we can listen to Joe play Marcia and imagine that we're there. So, Darce, you want to hit us with that?
Sure thing. This is Marcia, recorded this afternoon by Joe Webb.
That was Marcia by Joe Webb, and that's on his EP that you can listen to on Spotify. He also has CDs available on his website. Joe, what's your site, man?
My site is joewebbmusic.com. And I made a short run of CDs because I was supposed to be on my second day of the tour today, but obviously it's all sort of cancelled. So I've got like a limited edition. I've got 100 of each album. So Yeah, they're £10 each. You can get them from a website, etc., etc., etc.
That's perfect because I only wanted 100.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly the right number.
Well, and actually, you're in luck as well because it's buy one get 99 free.
Amazing. So yeah. So obviously you're a band leader and composer, and but I know that you're steeped in loads of different kinds of music, and I know that you kind of you have this you have an amazing kind of affinity for the kind of early the early stride pianists, and particularly people like Art Tatum and Nat Cole. And we were talking to Dave about Art Tatum and Nat Cole yesterday. But I think it's interesting, that your records, from the outside don't necessarily sound like that. But I know that when you're playing, you're thinking about Tatum, and you're thinking about the way people phrase. And how do you bridge your style? How do you bridge your kind of modern Joe Webb sound with the older influences? Do you kind of?
It's a constant battle, really. It's something I'm still trying to work out, and I think like every step I've like sort of taken so far from from my like career in music. People tend to put so much pressure on themselves to get their sound, to become this person. You need to do this. But I think you only really truly realize it when you kind of just enjoy playing music, and then all the little bits that you kind of love about music, whether it's jazz, whether it's whatever, like for instance, like recorded an Oasis tune on my like debut EP, and it's some of that band sound like is exactly the sort of qualities I try to look for in other different types of music as well, with even Tatum, even Fats, like there's little bits of music that you can just draw in anywhere. And I think like by sort of going down the hill, snowballing, carrying up and getting up everything, all the little bits of music that you love, that's when you kind of arrive to your sound. But yeah, in terms of actually trying to play in the same sort of style, playing the same sort of licks as Tatum or Fats, in maybe more contemporary stuff, it's kind of, I don't know, like sometimes it can be really, really shoehorned in until maybe you might catch yourself just literally improvising, and then it might a little bit of that might actually go in by mistake, sort of thing. I don't know. It's really hard, but I think not putting any pressure on yourself to get your sound. I think it just naturally arrives. I think.
Yeah. I think that's totally. Yeah, I think I hear that completely, and that makes a lot of sense. That you're not playing thinking, oh, I have to sound like Tatum now. I have to sound like Fats now. I have to sound like Brad now. I have to sound like whatever. It's kind of, it's just all there, and it's just like speaking a language.
Yeah.
Fluently.
Definitely. Having said that, though, I do like some like gigs in the Gibson. There's a couple of really hip cocktail bars where you do solo piano, and then you just go and literally just play that music, just to get that music really familiar, rather than like going out to be sort of playing as yourself. You are actually going out to almost like mimic these like the greats, or at least try to, So yes, I don't know. It's a weird middle ground, I guess.
I think that's a good time to play another one of the tunes that you laid down earlier. Remind me again. What's the more? What is it called?
More Than You Know. So yeah, it's a ballad that I've been in love with over the last few months. It's an amazing Billie Holiday version.
Play two bars of it for me, so that I can. Oh yeah, okay. Love it. All right, Darce. Yeah. Darce, hit it with More Than You Know. That was More Than You Know, played by Joe Webb. And you're listening to Live at 5 and watching Live at 5 from Kansas Smitty's. We're with Joe Webb today, but before we go back to him, I just want to remind you that you can click the link in the bio to find out more about Kansas Smitty's and how you can donate and support these podcasts, and also sign up to be a Kansas Smitty's member and also get some cool Kansas Smitty's merch. So yes, as I said before, that was More Than You Know. We're joined by Joe Webb, but we're also with Darcy O'Connor, our producer, who's in Clapton today. Darcy, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we've got a bit of chat going on at the moment. We've got Jay Simmons, kind of relating back to what we were just talking about, Art Tatum. He was saying wants to know what makes him such a great. We've had a little bit of response here in the chat. Clive Fleckner says that just listen to him solo or in a small group with Ben Webster, and then you'll know, which is a pretty good answer. But what do you guys think? Why is Art Tatum such a great?
I think just his mind was so progressed, like during his time on Earth. Do you know what I mean? Like he really he just ripped up the rule book in so many different ways, and really sort of like was a trendsetter for different harmony, and he would just improvise just his own chords, like loads of time, which sounds a bit like sort of a naff way of putting it, but I mean, yeah, like the way he phrases as well, he does get a lot of stick because he's like super shreddy and he plays really, really fast and everything, but like, I used to think when I was in music college, I used to think, oh yeah, it just plays really, really fast. So, he's like, he's just showing off basically. And then yeah, about, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, I like really sat down and listened to it, and it just changed almost everything that I hear about music, especially jazz, and especially jazz piano. It's just so much in depth thought into every single, I don't know, his brain just seemed quicker than anyone else's. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I actually think what Clive says is kind of true, because a good record is a good record. You put it on, it sounds nice, it's going to sound good, and Art Tatum is one of those. But what makes a great record, and this is the thing that you find with people like Tatum and the people that are time and time again referred to as the giants of jazz, people like everyone from Chick Corea to Miles Davis to Billie Holiday, is that there's so much depth in the music. So to Jay's question, I mean, an Art Tatum record is great because you put it on and it sounds good, but if you listen to it in 10 years, it sounds like a whole different thing, because he's put so much life, to be figurative about it, he's put so much life into the music that you can find new things every time you listen to it. It sounds fresh and new. So I mean, I started listening to Art Tatum when I was about 15 or 16. And like Joe says, you hear it at first, and when you're young, you think, wow, that's cool, because he's really shredding and he's like playing super fast, and faster and louder is always cool when you're young. And then you realize that you listen to it, when you get older, and you think, well, actually there's real nuance in this. And then you listen to it when you have a bit more knowledge, and you think, as an improvising composer, a spontaneous composer, he's a total genius, because you listen to him do the same song a number of times, and it sounds, you hear the things that he changes, and he's just changing them on the spot. He'll reharmonize something, he'll reinvent it. And it's just amazing to see someone who's so facile on the keyboard just kind of invent on the spot. And that's when I listen to Tatum, that's what I think. Joe and I send a lot of recordings back and forth to each other of Tatum, throughout the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And our jaws are always dropped, because he'll play a different version of a song that he recorded 10 years before, and he'll have reinvented it, on the level that it's a whole new composition. So it's just it's good music played by, a genius of piano.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's a really hard. I don't know. Like, it's a really hard question in a way to answer, because it's what he's done, what he did in kind of a short space of time is unfathomable, really. Just for everything he did for jazz piano, everything he did for jazz, really. I honestly think that there'd be holes in jazz missing if it wasn't for him. You know,
you look at people like Oscar Peterson and you know, even to a certain extent Nat Cole, but Ray Bryant, and then people who play free, you know, people like Cecil Taylor, and they have a huge amount of they owe a huge amount to Tatum, because different aspects of his technique, you know, for example, his left hand technique is so advanced compared to any of his contemporaries, you know, that then you look at people who, you know, somebody like Brad Mehldau, who has this autonomy of right and left hands, and people say, wow, Brad Meldau's left hand is incredible. Well, you know, Tatum pioneered how that left hand could be independent, you know? Don't you think?
Also, yeah, but also the size of his left hand. Like, if actually, you know, the size of his hands, you know, he could reach a 15th, you know, so he could reach C to G and use it, not you know, he could actively use that, you know.
Play that. What does that sound like?
So that's. I mean, I can stretch it just about, but like, I can't do it practically, you know. So C7 with a 5 in it, and that's one voicing, you know. So the amount of color and obviously the amount of possibilities you can move, even just by moving your thumb or your little finger. The inner voicings it's crazy, you know. And he was doing that on the spot.
Can you play something just quickly even though the sound is going to be tough?
We'll play something like Tatum-esque, or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, like, that's just like,
that was great,
killer, man.
That's like
killer.
Scrappy, but yeah.
That's Joe Webb on the piano. Live at 5, we're going to listen to Joe play another standard of the jazz repertoire, and this is I would venture a guess that he got this tune from Stan Getz with Oscar Peterson's trio, which is if you haven't checked that record out, then it's just amazing. This is called "I Was Doing All Right." Joe Webb on the piano. and that was Joe Webb with I Was Doing All Right. You're listening to Live at 5. We've seen in the chat that we have a very esteemed guest, and Ed Cook we see out there. And Ed Cook is a longtime supporter of Kansas Smitty's, and he actually was one of the first guys that I played a gig for in London, something like 9 or 10 years ago. And if you've seen any of the live streams that we've done, you'll know that we did them from Ed's office, which is the Memrise headquarters in East London. And Memrise is a really cool tech company, an app that helps people learn languages. And the interesting thing about that is that Joe has actually used Memrise to learn Dutch. And Joe, you actually went into Memrise recently and spoke about music as a language. What was that like, and what did you talk about?
So I just finished playing. I think playing with you at the bar at Kansas Smitty's, and yeah, Ed come over and asked me if I still using the app, and I was like, yeah, but I was like, yeah, I hadn't used it for a little while, but then I sort of realized that I just sort of learned licks in a way of, and he was like, whoa, licks, tell me a little bit more about that and everything. So yeah, we were like talking for a while about the idea of using licks for languages, for using quite common phrases which you could sort of get by on an everyday situation without actually learning more and more about it, pushing yourself more about it, to get yourself out of your comfort zone in exactly the same way as music. Just learn, like, it's pointless really learning just one thing, which will get you from A to B in music. So I mean, if you can't do it in music, you definitely can't do it in languages. So I sort of went in one afternoon and spoke a little bit about the similarities between it, and it was really interesting. Amazing crew there, and it was really nice to like sort of give a presentation and to have so many amazing questions asked. I was like, whoa, really opened up my mind as well. It was super interesting.
Amazing, man. I mean, I think that the parallels between particularly playing jazz and speaking a language are really strong, because you improvise speaking in the same way that you improvise jazz. So particularly like when I think about improvising jazz, because I'm not really like a free player, but the idea of licks, I mean, licks are like phrases, that you say. If you say, Darcy and I always joke about, Australian phrases. He's teaching me Australian. So they don't sound good when I say them though, Darcy. Ripper. Yeah. See, that's how you say it.
Ripper.
Yeah. But I mean, when we play together, there are things that there are cues that one picks up on when they hear a certain lick in music, or when they hear a certain phrase. If you went out for coffee with a friend and the chat was wrapping up, you might say, okay, cool, I think I'm going to get a move on. In the same way that when I'm playing with Joe, I might play something on clarinet where he knows, I might play like, and then he would know exactly with that I was trying to end the song. And there's no verbal communication there, because the language is musical. And I think that, it's an amazing feeling language-wise when you meet somebody that doesn't speak English or speak your, native language. And, I've had that experience with people who play, Manouche jazz or Django Reinhardt style jazz, where they only speak, they might only speak Gypsy language, or they might only speak Dutch, and we just start playing, and all of a sudden we can communicate, which is so cool.
Anywhere in the world as well, anywhere where there's jazz, it's crazy.
Yeah, so cool.
People will speak that language.
So Joe, I think we're going to wrap up for today, unless Darce, do we have any more questions in the chat?
We've got one more question from Alexander Waltham. It's a bit out of left field, but he basically just wants to know, he thinks that the ballads on the Ballads and Blues album by Miles Davis is pretty underrated. and he just wanted Joe's opinion on, where do you rank the piano compositions on his records, and who do you think was the best piano player he collaborated with?
What, Miles Davis?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite, really. They're all so like that's the idea why Miles hired them all. I think just because they offered such a different palette of sound. I mean, yeah, I remember listening to Miles when my old classical piano teacher's husband gave me Kind of Blue. He gave me Kind of Blue and Night Train, which literally changed, obviously, like was the gateway into jazz. But I remember being obsessed with obviously the Oscar Peterson one, but then I loved I really liked Kind of Blue, but I especially loved Freddie Freeloader because it was oh my god, I can't remember his name now. It's bad, isn't it?
Wynton Kelly.
But yeah, exactly. And I loved his playing at the time much more than Bill Evans's. And and now it's like, I really, I put them both as equals, and the same with Herbie as well. Like there's so many. So
even Chick and I have to say that Keith Jarrett is definitely a favorite, but not because of his work with Miles, but because of what he did afterwards. Anyway, we're going to wrap up there, and you've been listening to Live at 5. As I said before, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the link in the bio to find out more about what Kansas Smitty's is up to. We hope that everybody's happy and healthy out there, and that this little show can brighten your day. We're going to leave you now with Joe playing another track off of his first EP, and this is his cover of Oasis, Some Might Say. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening to Live at 5. Remember to subscribe to this channel and click on the link in the description to see where you can donate, sign up for a Smitty's membership, or buy our records and merch. See you tomorrow. Thanks again.